Hello everybody, it's Techno here. Today I'm going to show you something a little bit different than the normal. Uh, Recently, not too long ago, a person named Kero made a post on the Pokemon subreddit looking to interview people who love Pokemon and how the franchise influenced their lives or changed their lives or anything like that. And I felt kind of like a prime example there because Pokemon has greatly influenced my life. I reached out to him and we did a little hour-long interview, as you can tell by the length of this video. He interviewed me and several other people, and he's uploading them to his channel, which is linked in the description. His videos are a little more focused on the individual topics, so rather than an hour-long video, he has more like 5 or 7 or 10-minute long videos that you can watch a focused topic on. So if you're interested in that podcast field, go ahead and take a look again at his channel. It's in the description. I feel like with my guides, you don't really get to see my personality very much. Those guides are very straightforward. So with this interview, it's a good chance to see how much I truly love the Pokemon franchise and some of my concerns and other things like that as well. So again, I could have gone on for hours on this on this topic, but anyways, let me know if there's anything I could do. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello everybody, this is Kero. Today I am sitting down with Techno, and we're going to talk a little bit about Pokemon. How are you, Techno?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you.
Awesome, cool. I appreciate you coming on to the show. I've had a couple other guests already, but it's fun to have a lot more people on just to talk about how much we love Pokemon and how it's impacted our lives a bit.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of variations in that story as well, so it's probably pretty exciting from your end, man.
It is. It really is. I've been a fan of Pokemon for almost my entire life, so it's nice to hear like others having very similar stories or like very similar experiences to me, and just it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah, it's cross generational, man. It's now getting to the point where it's going to be, our kids, and it's scary, man, to think that we were there when it started, and we're old, man. We're old.
Oh, tell me about it. I feel the creaking already, but like my nephews are fans of the series too.
Yeah.
I don't think they stand it as hard as I do,
Sure.
but like when they talk about like the characters and the games, they know about Pikachu, they know about like Charmander and Bulbasaur, but they also mention like a lot of the new gen. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy because it's like, wow, like you guys don't know Porygon, you don't know like Cyndaquil and stuff.
See,
and
that's the thing too. I actually have a mirrored experience there with my siblings. My dad recently got remarried, so he had children again for whatever reason in his 40s, and they're like 6 and 7, and it's incredible because with them they almost know only Generation 1. It's just, to me, that shows how much marketing is going to the Generation 1 stuff. Even now, nearly 25 years after the release of it, it's still being pushed so hard. That's all they draw, the starters and the evolutions and, Mewtwo and all that kind of stuff. So it's incredible how it's still so iconic that it's just, every day you see it.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, I really have to hand it to Nintendo. It's like they took the Care Bears like template and they really ran with it. Mm-hmm. So they can always introduce like new characters, right. They can introduce new worlds, new stories, but right. You have your core 4 or 6 that you're going to keep on pushing. Mm-hmm. And hey, it's working for them because they're clearly making big bank off of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's working like a charm for them, man. It's they've definitely found their niche.
For sure. But let's jump back a little bit. Could you tell me and the viewers how you got into Pokemon, what gen, what were your favorite Pokemon, and we'll go from there.
Sure, yeah. So I'm 28 years old. Born in 92, and Pokemon came to the U.S. in 97, in Japan in 96. I actually lived in Japan for a very small amount of time in my youth. I don't remember any of it, but I was introduced to Pokemon while I was out there. So that's pretty good timing on my part. For those of you oldies like me, you might recognize a time back in the day where parents thought Pokemon was from the devil and it was the worst thing in the world for your kids to be playing these things. And My dad is super Christian, so I had a lot of pushback from him to let me play that franchise. But I pushed through it, and I was very dedicated as a kid. I loved it very much, and surprisingly, he let me through it. He's a very strict person, so and here I am, 20 whatever years later, and still addicted to it. So, first games was technically Blue. My cousin had Red, and I ended up getting his copy as well. But I have I have every copy of every version sitting behind me right now, and don't plan on stopping anytime soon. It's just gonna be something that follows with me through life. I think even in the down times, like in my opinion, the more recent years, past couple 3 or 4 years maybe, I just stick through it, and I'm sure there's going to be worse times in the future, and there's going to be way better times in the future as well. But that's the call for dedication, I guess. Stick through those things.
Yep, I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you started off with Pokemon, what starters were you into? And do you even remember like what your earliest party was?
Oh, not at all. I can't remember parties for the life of me, and I'll tell you one of the main contributing factors to that is that I have a chronic addiction to this series that I will literally just replay the games over and over again. So as soon as I beat the league, I will just restart another version. Usually I go chronologically, so I'll just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to play Emerald, and then as soon as I beat Steven right at the end, I typically don't bother with the post game unless I really randomly desire to do it. So I won't do the Battle Frontier or anything like that. But as soon as I beat Steven, I'll be like, you know what? Let's go to Platinum. And I'll just move on and keep going. So I've used hundreds and hundreds of teams. So I do know my first starter was like many other people, Charmander. But it's not my favorite to this day. I'm a Squirtle guy. I actually have a tattoo of Squirtle. So
nice, cool.
Yeah, the original team though, oof, that's gone in the memories, man.
No, that's wicked. Wow, Squirtle tat. I watched the Impulsive podcast, like Logan Paul,
okay.
And like he has like a Squirtle tat too.
Sick.
And he's like a huge Pokemon fan, and it made me realize like I really really love Pokemon, and I have yet to get a Pokemon tat, which is weird.
Yeah, and as a forewarning, if you are considering it, man, you're gonna get judged a lot, dude. You'll get a lot of like the younger people would be like, I'm standing in line at a gas station or something, and I all the time I get somebody, hey dude, nice tat, like something really nice like that. But then the old people, what is that? Is that a turtle? And I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother explaining it.
Yes, it's a turtle.
It's a turtle. Sure. It's a blue turtle, sure. And wow. Some people question like, oh, you're gonna regret that. We'll see. We'll see.
It's a good conversation piece, right?
It is. It's definitely, explaining it to, when you're trying to start dating people too. I've had it for like 6 or 7 years now, so I've went on a couple dates where I had to explain that. And you get those kind of, that's a judgment too. Like if you're looking at me like that, it's like, all right, I already know this is not gonna work. My fiance right now, when I showed her, she thought it was the coolest thing ever. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, she's clearly a keeper.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, she's her fiance.
Yeah.
I've thought about. There's 2 Pokemon tats that I've thought about, but I've just never gotten around to getting them. It is either Porygon Z or Togekiss because they're like my favorite Pokemon.
Oh, very cool. Unique choices. I'm a big fan of when somebody's favorite Pokemon is not an overproduced and overplayed Pokemon. So Porygon Z is a very good choice in my opinion. I really enjoy that Pokemon.
Awesome, cool. So that's all the validation I need.
Yeah, right. and honestly, its design is so flexible that you could probably get some really sick tats with that. Like, because he's kind of corrupted virus and he's kind of bendable and everything. I think a really good artist could make a really sick tat for that.
All right, see, like now my brain is like running through like, oh man, like how can I make this really unique?
Yeah, and like his color scheme is really pops too, So I think that blue and pink will really look good, man.
Nice.
Just go for
Do you
it.
have Do you have any other like game or like anime related tattoos?
No, Squirtle's the only one I had. I
Okay.
was originally going to get the 3 starters, which right now, in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't. Um, Not because of like any pain or money reasons. It's just I think that's a little cheesy, if I'm being honest with you. I'm glad I stopped with Squirtle. I was gonna do one at a time for like one a week, but now I do want to get more Pokemon tats. I play a lot of Nintendo games. I have a history with Nintendo. Strictly, I don't play anything else other than that. But there's just not really that connection with any other franchise that I have like this. I mean, the only closest thing I'd say is Paper Mario or something like that. Which
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of. But
Nice. I love Paper Mario too.
yeah, it's a good series, man.
It is. We'll come back to talking about Nintendo games in a sec.
Sure.
But I wanted to ask you, with Pokemon, growing up, maybe even now, were you into the anime at all or the movies? Did you play any of the other side games aside from like the main line, or did you kind of just stick to the basic games?
That's a really good question. I like that because it's an interesting concept, man. The way that Pokemon is such an empire now is because of the anime, despite the games being the kickoff. You mention Pokemon to anybody on the street, somebody who's unfamiliar, the first thing that comes to mind is Ash and Pikachu. Always. And I know that from experience because I talk about this series every day to random people. I'm the freaking weirdo you see that's talking, But that's the thing that comes to people's mind. And I never really was a fan of the anime, and I was, I was obviously there when it started and everything. I was there in the main Gen 1 days, but I didn't really follow it, and again, that's partially due to my super Christian father not really letting me do it. But I did get around to the anime about 3 or 4 years ago when Sun and Moon was being released. I said, you know what, I want to be a self-proclaimed Pokemon master, as cheesy as that sounds, and to be that, I can't just stick to my very extensive knowledge of the games. I have to branch out a little bit and see the other conduits to the franchise. And I'm thinking, okay, the anime, it's been around forever. It's never going to end. So it's kind of a daunting task. But I just did it anyways, man. I'm just like, you know what, screw it. I have all the time in the world. There's short episodes. There's a lot of them. At the time, there was like 900. Now there's a little over 1,100. But I cranked all of them out, which was, I'm telling you, right when Sun and Moon started. So right at the end of the Kalos League.
Wow.
I cranked them all out in 5 months, man. A 900 episode in 5 months. So I was on average, I think it was like 7 or 8 days. I posted it on Reddit, a full review and everything. The nerd works, man, I'm telling you. And I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to do. I'm more of a fan of ironically, I'm more of a fan of the filler episodes, or the slower paced, or the kind of stupid, the ones that aren't really plot relevant. And then again, as 3 years gone by since I watched all of the episodes, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it again. And last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe, it was right before Dominican Republic. I just finished. I caught all the way up to the newest Journeys episodes. That one took me a little bit longer because I wasn't as engaged as I was the first time. But I did it again, and I gotta say, man, I still really like it. Obviously there's some very huge flaws with it, but it's great. In regards to like the side games, though, I mean, I've done Mystery Dungeon and Ranger and the stupid like one-off, Game Boy game. What was the trading card games? Those kind of things I've done. Mystery Dungeon, obviously, I think everybody loves that franchise who's played this, right? Have you played it before?
No, my friends have played it though, and they love it.
Highly recommend, man. People will definitely recommend the second one, but I'm a big fan of the first one. I love the second one too, but the first one is just it hits a little bit harder because it is the first one, But and Ranger's pretty good. Due for a replay. Oh, Troze, I'm actually due for a replay on that as well. But the side games, they're good. I like them. I enjoy them. Mystery Dungeon's definitely the peak of the side games in my opinion. But you know, the main core franchise, all the way from Red and Blue to, you know, Sword and Shield, I play repeatedly. You know, I think the one I've played last, I think Crystal was the one I haven't played the recent. It's probably been about 4 or 5 years for that. But I've done Heart Gold and Soul Silver a couple times. I've done Silver once, so you know, I just run through them.
Nice, very nice. So like the reason why I don't play all of the side games is because when I was first into Pokemon, like when I was a kid, I played Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold and Silver, obviously, and then I don't remember the era that Mystery Dungeon came out, but I was playing Emerald a lot, and I believe that in between Gen 3 and Gen 4 is when Mystery Dungeon came out?
Yeah, it was the bridge between game, because Red Rescue Team was Game Boy Advance and Blue Rescue Team was DS. They're the same game, but just parallels on different consoles.
Okay, yeah. So at that point I switched. Like I have a lot of hobbies, and it's hard to juggle when you're into so many different things, and you don't necessarily have like a crossover.
Oh man, you must hate having so many talents, man.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
Okay.
But like I've always loved Pokemon, but like I was into the anime, and I didn't play any of the games for a while because I was playing like Magic, I was playing Duel Masters, and Yu-Gi-Oh was very big at the time too. So I was huge into that. When I got back into Pokemon, it wasn't like that far removed. It was right in the middle of Gen 4 going to Gen 5.
Okay. And
that's when I noticed that there were so many more side games coming out. Growing up, I played the TCG game. I played Pokemon Pinball. I played Snap, and Pokemon Stadium was huge for me as well.
Yeah.
But everything else in between, I kind of missed out on that. And I realized that is when like Nintendo and Game Freak, they were really like pushing the envelope for like, how can we expand the Pokemon universe? And that's what I really like. I've always felt, and like just like what you said about the anime, I've always liked the filler episodes of Pokemon because it was interesting to see like when they get involved with like Officer Jenny or Nurse Joy, and like they have like those side stories when you see a trainer who's going through their own like ordeal, and like you see like the main cast like trying to help them out. I've always wanted Nintendo to make a Pokemon game that has nothing to do with trying to get 8 badges.
Yeah, it's hard to, because that's the selling point of the franchise, right? Is that these Pokemon battle, they evolve, you want to have as many as you, but you know, the side games do a great they do a great way of exploring that alternate reality of like Mystery Dungeon. You know, you are a Pokemon and you're talking. It's like, that's so weird, you know? It's so weird, but it does so well. And Ranger, again, you don't capture Pokemon. You befriend them for a little bit, they help you, and you just let them go. You know,
Ranger's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's a totally different concept, and they definitely could expand on it more. I mean, like you were saying, a game where you go around and just help people, that would be very unique, you know? I think that would be very memorable for especially for new encounters of the franchise. I think it'd be a good way to learn the Pokemon. I think when you battle them on repeat, you don't really learn them as well as if you get a little more personality. And that's what the anime did too. It added a lot of personality to these 8-bit creatures in the very beginning, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, people, when you try and introduce them, you say, this is Staryu. It's like, okay, it's a star. You know, it's like, but, you know, it's a living creature to me. It's totally different. You know, for you, this is an actually living animal here. It's got its own backstory. It's possibly from outer space. It's psychic type. It's water type. It evolves upon water stone. It's very. I can hear Staryu in my mind. You know, I can hear both its game cry and its anime cry very clearly in my mind.
Same
right?
here, yeah.
You know, it's just like, this is a very living thing, and it's hard to really get that through. And I think a world like you were describing, where you walk around and it's not very direct, you know, like get your badges, battle at the end of the game. I think that would be a good side game, man. I think there's something there to explore.
And I'm hoping like we do get a game like that. I have a wish list of Pokemon games I would like to see. I would love to see them release like a full-fleshed version of like Pokemon contests. I've always felt like the Pokemon contest side stories were great.
Okay, I agree. Oh, dude, so much. Every time I mention Pokemon contest to somebody, I don't know if I'm with the wrong crew or something, man. I always get judged so hard.
Really?
Yeah, as a kid, man, I loved those things. I don't know.
The contests were fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the anime, when May would be doing her contest, that was my favorite part of Advanced Generation.
Yeah, I agree.
It was so interesting. It was so different, and there was still like the battle aspect of it.
Right.
But it was more so about like, I'm going to care for my Pokemon. I want my Pokemon to get a haircut. I want it to look good. I wanted to like make its water gun look better than other Totodile's water guns, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah, it's more flashy and there's more depth than just strategy of battling.
Yeah.
And it's cool too because they didn't market it strictly to girls like they kind of it's perceived, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's like, it's the girl follower that's doing the contest all the time. But I mean, there's people in there like Drew, for instance.
Yeah.
Drew, I love Drew. I'm a big fan
Me too.
of him. He's a great character. He kind of is the balance of the jerk, and towards the end he gets really nice. Not so much a fan of Kenny, if you know Kenny from the Gen 4 anime, but there's a lot of male participants in there that really it's not overly girly, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was good. Like that's something I'll definitely say with the Pokemon anime is that not that they took risk, but they had a lot of liberties with the anime that they couldn't necessarily take with the game, which is understandable. Different directions, different markets, but the anime was just so engaging, and I can see why there's that repeat factor when it comes to watching it. Right? Like sometimes I won't watch an entire season, but like I'll be like, I want to watch all of these gym battles and maybe like the episodes leading up to it.
Right.
I want to see when this Pokemon makes an appearance.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting because, as you said earlier, they flesh out the characters, they flesh out the Pokemon, they give them a lot of personality. Imagine like what I really liked about early Pikachu, I'm sure everyone has seen the memes, is that Pikachu had so much personality.
Yes, yeah. And they I don't know if you've watched Journeys, but they've kind of touched on him a little bit more recently.
Yeah.
He's more Ash-like nowadays, and he's kind of likes to mess around with people, and he laughs. He's kind of in the background doing things. Whereas, from freaking Gen 2 to Gen maybe 6-ish, he's just, a shoulder companion, and that's it.
It's like every new region, give him a new move. That's all the character development he needs.
Exactly.
Pikachu with Iron Tail was like his biggest like character advancement in like a 5-6 year period.
Bro, I like I said, I didn't even watch the anime growing up, especially in Gen 3 and 4. But even I remember Pikachu learning Iron Tail. It was just so weird. It's like, okay, that's different than Thunderbolt.
Yeah. Okay, that's character development.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Nintendo games a little bit.
Okay.
You said that you're a fan of Nintendo series.
Yeah.
And that's all you really play?
Yeah. I've been exposed to Nintendo my whole life, from NES to now the Switch. I have every single home console and every single handheld console minus the, what is it called? The Micro Game Boy Advance or something like that. Game Boy Advance Micro, I think. But I mean, I'm looking at all of them right now. I have multiple copies of each console as well because some break, some I lost and found later times. I mean, I've been to hell and back on this country. I've moved around 1,000 times, so you lose things. But yeah, man, Nintendo's a huge part of my life. I love their IPs. I mean, that's obviously the thing that stands out with Nintendo is that their main franchise lines are just killers all the time, almost. Super Metroid is my favorite game of all time, ironically. I like Metroid, the series of Primes. I've recently gone through again, and the other side-scroller. I prefer side-scroller Metroids, but Super Metroid really hit home for me as a kid, and I still replay. I speedrun it sometimes. But Paper Mario also, man. That 1, 2,
nice.
Those games are godlike, man. 1 and 2
Nice.
are godlike.
Yeah, the Nintendo is. I've had this conversation with a couple other people that I brought on to talk about Pokemon. Nintendo is my favorite company. Like for anything, I like everything that they do. I like their approach to making them very mainstream. Even if you don't play Nintendo games, you could be into COD, you could be into Gears of War, Halo, whatever. but you'll see Nintendo merch at Uniqlo.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
you'll see like now you'll see like Detective Pikachu
Right.
in theaters.
Mhm.
Like it's getting to the point where Nintendo knows exactly what they have, and they're trying to market it to become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not just with Pokemon, but everything that they do. But and maybe you can offer your insight on this. I personally think that as great as Nintendo is, and they've released a lot of incredible classics over the years, I feel that over the last few gens, they haven't released a masterpiece yet. I don't think Nintendo is in the business of trying to compete directly with Sony or Microsoft. Like their games could be released and they have a particular aesthetic that will draw people in. Obviously, there's Animal Crossing, which is amazing. There was like the Wii Sports thing that caught on, and now it's classic for everyone. A lot of people grew up on like the Wii Sports, and
Right.
like they see it as something that they'll always connect to Nintendo.
Right.
But I don't see people have the same excitement for a non-Metroid, non-Mario, non-Pokemon game as they do with like Cyberpunk, or as they do with like even like the 2K series. Do you think Nintendo going forward, now that they're able to tap into all different markets and demographics, are on the verge of releasing that masterpiece, whether it's a new IP or something that has previously existed?
Okay. Very good question again. I'm going to be honest with you, too. I think part of Nintendo's failure, I guess, I don't want to call it that because it's a little harsh, but it's despite me loving the console, it's due to the Wii U. The Wii U is absolutely horrible marketed. They should have named it differently. They should have delayed its progress in maybe a year or two.
Such a shame.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It has so many great games, and it has so many great games because they're re-releasing them on Switch because nobody had a freaking Wii U. I love the Wii U, and it's got, like I said, it's got amazing lists. It's honestly, now that I'm looking at my shelf right now, I think it's my biggest collection of games. But it's just I never play them, and the reason why is because it's such a pain to set it up. I hate the gamepad, man. I hate the gamepad. It's just this is part of this ties into why they're not really as big as connected as they could have been, because like the Wii U, it's got several blockades to it, but to me the biggest thing for me is the gamepad. It's not a controller. You can just, if it breaks, you go to Target, you go buy a new one. You have to send it in. You're gonna have to not play for 3 weeks while they fix your freaking $150 controller, and it comes back. And you have to sync it through the TV. I don't know if you've done that before, but when you sync the Wii U to the TV, it's just really difficult to set the 720p and all that crap. It's really it's just really a hurdle to get over. And while I love the games on there, and Miiverse itself was a great thing as well, I think it was a stepping stone for the Switch, which is a huge success. It crawled so the Switch can run.
Yep.
Or maybe I think we should say walk so the Switch can walk. It's still got some ways to go. I love the Switch. I have a huge collection of this console as well, but it does have some things that's missing, and that's okay. I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna rag on a console too because it doesn't have Netflix. I don't have a Switch to watch Netflix. I have a computer or TV or a phone for that. I get it. It's cool if it has it, but that's not why I have a Switch. I have a Switch for these amazing IPs like Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or New Horizons. Which, by the way, I think New Horizons is a great monumental game. I think that game, that game sold consoles to people who have never played video games before.
Yeah.
That game was really, really well marketed, and I mean, all these people you would never even think would have a Switch. These, people who are busy lives and they work all the time, or they're really popular. They go out clubbing. These people, and then they have a Switch. They're playing Animal Crossing. It's like, wow, this game really touched generations. I think that game is going to be really remembered really well, like 5 years from now. Kind of how I look at City Folk, because Animal Crossing City Folk for me that was my first Animal Crossing.
Okay, nice.
The Animal Crossing games could get better and better and better and better forever, but I will always look back at City Folk for being my thing. I wish I could relive it, but I can't. I think New Horizons is the masterpiece of the Switch.
Yeah.
While it does have mistakes, it could have been better, but it is pretty dang good, and I think they did a great job selling it out there and making it exposed.
They did, and that's exactly what I mean. Nintendo knows what they're doing,
Exactly.
especially after Wii U. I don't think we'll ever see them make a mistake like that again.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Wii U was like, and like, I don't know, like that was also at the period of time where I was like out of games,
Okay.
and I was into, I don't know, it was like something else, I don't know, but like when I came back, it was just as the Switch was being released. I didn't even know what the Wii U was.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Because
I was so confused.
yeah, a lot of people didn't know it. I mean, it's weird, right? It's like, oh, the worst part about it is like it's named the Wii U. It sounds like it's an extension of the Wii.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. And then I think back, it's like, well, shit, we had a Super Nintendo. Like that sounds like it's the same thing to anybody. To people who don't know anything. Nintendo 64, it's like they're all Nintendos in them. So why did the Wii U confuse so many people? They should have just totally named it. I'm being honest with you. If they just named it something catchier, it probably would have sold way better just from the name alone.
Yeah, I agree, and like that's a big thing about Nintendo that they will probably learn from. But the thing is, why did the Wii U fail so badly? But then you look at PlayStation and you look at like PSP,
right,
and like Vita, which like anyone who had it loved it, but it's still the fact that they couldn't get the right titles onto PSP at the right time,
right,
and it seemed like that was a loss that they took. Even like with Xbox 360, like that was popular. A lot of people skipped the 360. A lot of people that I know that were huge Xbox fans ended up moving over to Nintendo, or they moved over to PlayStation afterwards. I feel that that's a mistake, that especially nowadays when you have people who they want to spend money on games, they want to spend the time on games, but if they have the ease of access of their cell phone, they're going to invest all their time into it. You can't make a misstep like that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, in the handheld department, for Sony to introduce the PSP while people who had it, like you said, loved it, it's hard to compete in the era of, what is it? It was probably the DS. I don't know when the PSP came out. If 2004.
It was DS, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can already. I mean, you can literally eliminate everything that the Nintendo DS has except for Pokemon, and already the DS wins. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you have Pokemon on your console, it's going to be hard as heck to compete with that, especially if you're just jumping in new with no real killer titles like that.
You're right. Absolutely. So Pokemon Go, I guess we're on the topic of like cell phones and mobile games. Pokemon Go was huge. That was like a wicked resurgence at the end of like that the 2010 era.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. I didn't play, but my friends played, and it was just really cool to see people who maybe they heard of Pokemon their entire lives and they never played it, but now they could download it from like the App Store and play.
Right.
That was so fun. And I love to see, like, I'm not a gatekeeper when it comes to things that I love, but then like I also do want to see the mainstream appreciate and recognize the past of games.
Yeah.
And I feel like Pokemon Go was that. And in the wake of Pokemon Go, you had the Detective Pikachu movie, which was pretty popular, all things considered, right? Like it wasn't a bad movie. It worked out well.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a direction that Nintendo is going to continue to go? Will they make more live action Pokemon movies? Will they maybe branch out to like another live action Super Mario movie? Do you think that like series like Animal Crossing or Pikmin may make it onto streaming services? It seems like Pokemon is like the thing that can't fail, but it can also be used for market research to determine how will a fan base react to it, what direction do we go in. And after seeing how Sonic has, it got its public beating, but then it came back around and they made a pretty decent movie from it. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, I hate the Sonic franchise, but I respect what they did with that movie and the corrections they took with that. Amazing. I respect that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like that's the thing. They learn from their mistakes. They just they They acknowledge that a fan base can be vocal and they do have some power. And you have big names who are being attached to lots of different animes, whether they're live action adaptations or they're voice acting. Do you think Nintendo is going to continue to release more movies and series like Zelda and all the other aforementioned series?
Well, okay, so there's a little bit of I can go on for hours in this subject here. While you say you're not a gatekeeper in some parts, I think that's one of my major flaws here with this, especially with Pokemon, man, is that I'm a bit of an elitist. I look at this. It comes from my love with the franchise, man. It's like this thing is more than just a video game to me. It's literally who I am, and it's kind of sad at some points. But
no, I don't think it's sad at all. I fully agree with you.
Yeah, it's who I am, man. It's like I'm not even exaggerating. I probably think about it half of every day. It's always there, even if it's not like super super intense thought. It's just like, I'll just randomly, here's the Route 218 theme, just in my head. Why not? It's just those kinds of things. It's always there for me. So because of that, like I said, I'm a little bit of an elitist. I hate to do it, but again, it's just because I have so much respect for it. When Pokemon Go released, I hated it. Just the concept of the game pissed me off so bad, because I'm one of the anti-Gen 1ers, and remember, nowadays it's not so common, but in 2016, Gen 1ers were everywhere. It was the anti-Pokemon, it was from 2012 to 2016, it was just a Gen 1er was a slur, basically. It was a bad word, and it's and that game sort of catered to it in the beginning. Just only the Kanto Pokemon, and kind of cheesy selling. I mean, it worked, don't get me wrong. It absolutely smashed the games, right? It sold like crazy and had everybody in the world playing this thing. It's Pokemon Hype 2, and I don't even know. I could barely remember how it worked back then, but it probably did better than the original run. This game was huge, man, and I hated it. I did eventually cave, of course, peer pressure, right? I did play it, and then I played it for a while. I played it all the way till the late Gen 4 era of Pokemon Go, and then once Gen 5 came out, I didn't play it, which is ironically, it's my favorite generation of the mainline games. So I really would have looked forward to playing that, but that's just when I got burnt out of doing the same thing over and over again. It's a mobile game, I'm not expecting so much depth out of it, but and again, Detective Pikachu, same deal. When I heard that, I said, what is this? I was like, what the hell is this? For a side game, okay, because the side game came first. And then I hear Ryan Reynolds, which I immediately associate with Deadpool, so I'm thinking, sort of like a Deadpool humor Pikachu. This is not going to work. I love Pokemon. I love the purity of the series. I love the childness and the likely, everybody's happy and they work together and the bonds and all that cheesy stuff, So I'm just thinking, Ryan Reynolds he's going to be Pikachu and he's just going to be all this like grumpy and weirdness. But the movie worked out really well, man. I watched it on a flight for work, and it was one of the free movies there. I said, you know what, here's the chance to do it, and I finished, and I was like, wow, that movie was really good. I actually really enjoyed it. And while a lot of the main Pokemon that got attention in that movie were Generation 1 Pokemon, like the Psyduck scene and the Mr. Mime scene and the Charizard scene, and the main villain is Mewtwo, it's just like, okay, these are all the same selling points again, but they did also focus on Pokemon that weren't Gen 1, like the Greninja Squad that are chasing the people, the giant Torterra, stuff like that. Then just in the background, there's a lot of Pokemon that maybe older fans wouldn't recognize, it's just like, that's a Beartic walking around in the background,
Yeah.
That's cool. I love to be able to look and spot them, and I think that was a really cool thing. Do I think they're going to continue with that? Not sure about that, if I'm being honest with you. I think Pokemon, if they are going to continue with it, it's going to be Pokemon only. I don't see them making a Mario movie, especially after like the 80s and 90s Mario
Oh,
television
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I grew up watching that. I'm very, very memorable of those things, and I see how bad it is now, but I did, I did like it as a kid. And Zelda had its show and everything. I just think after that, I don't know if they're going to do it. It's hard to do things like Link and Mario who don't talk, in the games. It's kind of hard. How do I approach that? I'm a big fan of like silence movies, and maybe not the whole movie silence, but scenes where there's a lot of things going on, but no talking.
Yeah.
Just you can express yourself more than without talking, and again, Pokemon the series actually touches on that. You have this bond with your Pokemon, and you're able to speak to them essentially through your bond. I think Mario though, it's kind of hard. It's if you're gonna make a movie about it, it's gonna be kind of cheesy. It's just gonna be Mario running around and just jumping around. It's like, how do you do this? So if they were to do another franchise, another movie, I think Pokemon, like you said, you can't fail with it. You can make the crappiest Pokemon movie and it's gonna sell like crazy. So if they would do it, I would say it's gonna be Pokemon again. I think they were in the Wii U era. Wasn't there going to be some sort of like Pikmin shorts? I think I remember there was something like that. I think they hinted at it, and they did like a couple 3-minute videos on YouTube or something for Pikmin. I'm not sure if that was Pikmin 3 advertisements or not, but I swore I remember hearing they were going to make a show about it.
I'm not so sure either. I just think like Pikmin, like that sort of game could translate well into like a television show now. Like just the era of television we're in, where like everyone has streaming services, every single possible niche is being made into a television show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when the number one show last year was about chess, and you had like an underlying like drug and like alcohol thing going on. like all you need to do is just like take something everyone has loved growing up and make it a little gritty.
Right.
And there you go. You have a bestseller.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did with Detective Pikachu. A little gritty in there.
Yeah.
It was kind of dark and stingy and musty and a little scary at times, like with the Charizard scene. That was a big thing, and it attracted to the because if they made Pokemon a movie that was a little more similar to the games, it's not going to appeal to those 25 30-year-olds that grew up with it when they were they need that little bit of grit to get those people in as well.
Yeah, it's true. But hey, I look forward to whatever Nintendo does end up doing going forward outside of just like on their consoles. I like you and I are both Nintendo fans, as we've said, and you don't want to see Nintendo go through a lull. I don't want to ever see Pokemon. Like I kind of feel that they release too much Pokemon.
Yeah, I agree.
Right now, and like I don't like the mainline cycle is like what 2 years now. It used to be like three plus years.
Yeah, it's
That's not for me, honestly. And I did want to ask you about that. The ease of play for Pokemon games. Like when my nephews are telling me that the newest games are so easy and they're blowing by it and it's boring and it's like I'm just watching TV. I'm just pressing A and waiting for the talking to finish. This game's so easy. It's like and like I love Pokemon. Like you can create I don't know the most takedown model of a Pokemon game, and I will still find joy in it because like Pokemon means so much to me. I love the story. I love the adventure of a character. I insert myself into the world, and they are doing a lot to make the games more expansive and expressive. The soundtracks, as I've spoken with other people, are fantastic. The visuals, the aesthetic, it continues to grow. I wasn't a big fan of the 3D Switch, but now I can't imagine Pokemon being anything but 3D. I can't wait to see how they take it into a different direction. But the gameplay has suffered so much, I don't understand why Game Freak would do that.
Yeah, okay, so Pokemon, let's just say this outright. Pokemon's never been hard, right? It's maybe
challenging, but not hard.
Yeah, maybe you've had a battle that kicked you back a little bit, and you had to go train outside or something like that. The first one that comes to mind is not the stereotypical, Cynthia or anything like that. The first one that comes to mind is Sabrina, man. When I was a kid, you're going through. You can train all down Cycling Road, and on the east side of Kanto and get all that stuff, get Koga done, and then you go to Sabrina and she's still 10 levels ahead of you. And I just like, how the hell am I supposed to beat this? And then on top of that, she has Psychic Pokemon, which in Gen 1 were busted, and they were definitely toned down a little bit in the remakes, but they scaled the levels better in Leaf Green and Fire Red. But, you know, battles like that, you get kicked right out of the gym. You're like, oh, okay, let's go grind a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever hard. I just think that, you know, occasionally you might run into a battle that was a pain or whatever. You know, you're never really struggling in the routes, especially if you have items. Typically in my playthroughs, I don't use items. I'm not even gonna invest time in that. I'm just gonna go anyways. And you'd be surprised, man. I have a side thing I could tell you about, but I'm trying to use every single species of Pokemon through one playthrough. Sadly, I started doing it. I started doing it after after I've done like 300 playthroughs. So what I have is this master spreadsheet, right? That I'm like tracking my experience with each species. So like one game, I'll just do Red's team, right? Okay, so I'll play through Heart Gold and Soul Silver with Red's team, and I'll write down my experience, what I had with Pichu. How was Pichu? How did it perform in the battles? And then how was Charmander? How was this Lapras? How were these Pokemon? How did they perform? And like I said, I started doing this after I've already done like 300 playthroughs, so I do have to go back and do Pokemon that I've already used before. But man, I could not recommend a better way of playing Pokemon. I think just choosing the most stupidest Pokemon together, it's like I had one of my playthroughs, I had 6 Pokemon to choose, and I told all my friends, I said, all of you are going to choose one Pokemon for me to use, and you're not allowed to discuss between each other. And so they're choosing Pokemon just randomly, you know, Pokemon they like. And I can end up with, you know, 4 ground type Pokemon and just get totally screwed with the playthrough. You know, and it's really fun to see how these Pokemon interact. I mean, so anyway, so that spreadsheet that I have going on is a way that I keep my games going with this. So it does spice up the playthrough a little bit. It does make it a little harder, but it's still not hard. It's despite not being ever hard, it's still definitely easier nowadays. You know, it's people complain X and Y is too easy. I disagree. I think X and Y is a good difficulty. X and Y and ORAS are good difficulty in my opinion. That's despite Gen 5 being my favorite. I think that's peak Pokemon right there. I love the grid, the 8-directional grid. I wish we had that back still. And I think the level scale is okay. The battles just seem so slow in 3D. I don't know what the deal is with that. The speed is technically, I think it's pretty similar, but it just feels so slow. And it's not like the moves that are drug out. It's just the way the models are. It's like this is just way longer than it needs to be. And I love the battles. I love the Gen 5 battles especially. It's so dynamic to look at the battle on the screen. When these Pokemon are like so lifelike and moving around, and again adds to the whole, you know, adding life to these species that existed before, which you would think with a 3D game you have more expansive opportunities to make these Pokemon more lifelike, right? I mean, you think, oh, I have a 3D field here. I have you know, this Pokemon, I can make them run around or something like that. But
yeah,
you know, they didn't really do that.
Yeah, they seem more concerned with like making Pokemon like Digivolve and like you know, have like a special Z move and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
they need a gimmick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. But like, I feel like a lot of the original Pokemon like identity, it's starting to dissipate a bit because like every new gen, it's like what you're saying. Like, they're not taking advantage of the engine and how it can correlate with the gameplay. Instead, they're just like, let's throw in like swarms. Like let's throw in Z moves. Like let's throw in like megas. And like I liked megas. I actually thought megas was cool.
I love megas.
I thought that was a really interesting move.
Yeah, I think it was a gimmick that is big enough to sell and small enough to keep the attention. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just right. It's just right in the right crevice. It's a sweet spot there. Z moves, they're kind of like overly flashy. While I love the cheesiness of the dances, I think they're really great.
Yeah.
and the use of them, I just think, they're not as good as Megas. Just plain and simple. I just think Megas are just really cool. Not to mention, I love the designs of these Megas for the most part. There are some that didn't really stick with me, but like Mega Lucario is a great example. I think that design is just like, wow, that is a Mega Lucario right there. He's beefed, he's powerful, but he's not over complicated. He's just like, he's gonna.
It's very flavorful. It's flavorful
exactly.
to the game and the character. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's sick. And Mega Blaziken, I'm a big fan of Mega Blaziken's design. I think that's Blaziken, but just beefed. I think it's really cool. I like how they did that.
Obviously, Mega Gengar, everyone geeks about that.
Yeah,
but like,
very cool.
For me, I think that's cool. And then the shiny Mega Gengar, where he's white and he's like, that's just like that's the thing, like about Mega Gengar. Like they utilized the field when they were creating him. Like half of his body is sunk into the ground.
Right.
Like that makes me like, Gengar wasn't scary, but he was a ghost and he was spooky. But now they took that spookiness and they made it very fearful. Now his attacks, he's like taking over the entire stadium, the entire field. Like that's the kind of vibe I hoped that Game Freak would continue going forward, and like they didn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, I think the only exception would be Gigantamax Gengar. Honestly, they played on that. They played on that spook factor really good there. But
yes,
Gigantamax designs for the most part are just kind of weird. I don't really know exactly what they're going with. Like Centiskorch is a great example. Why is that a Gigantamax? It's almost the same thing. Same for Corviknight, almost the same thing. Butterfree, it's almost the same thing. But it's just like, it's just kind of the same thing. What's the point of having a different thing? Dynamax, I can go again into a whole nother tangent on that. Oh,
sorry. Do you think the games coming out going forward are going to maybe like pay attention to what the online voices are saying, and maybe Game Freak and Nintendo will make a game that's not hard but more challenging? Or is the Pokemon that we see today what we're going to have going forward into the 20s?
Despite what people believe, Game Freak does listen to us. They're just really slow to respond. Really, really slow. And I think part of that is due to their cycle. As soon as they finish Sword and Shield, they're probably already working on Gen 9 or the Sinnoh remakes. You know what I mean? They don't. They just go right into the next one. So by the time our complaints of Sword and Shield are reaching them, they're already halfway through production into Sword and Shield, so it's going to be, or into Gen 9, so it's going to be a thing that's established in Gen 10 or maybe even 11 or something like that. A great example is Pokemon Following You. Look how long it took for that to happen. And again, it wasn't even mainline game. It was DLC. I don't know. That's just a weird example there, but I had another example too of them actually listening to us, but it's not common. Oh, that's a good one. Everybody's outraged with Gen 5 when it came out. Oh, where's my Clefairy? Where's my Pikachu? All that kind of crap. And what did we get in Gen 6? Just Kanto, and even more so in Gen 7. Oh, Gen 7. And we just they keep going. They're like, oh, they didn't like this. Okay, here, let's just go back to Gen 1. Now everybody's like, okay, slow down. That's enough, Gen 1. Let's balance. That's the thing too, is that they have this huge roster. I mean, it's got to be one of the biggest rosters any franchise has, man. It's 898 species, and then you have all these characters too. I mean, there's so much to work with. And I get selling on Pikachu and Eevee and Meowth and Psyduck, whatever. But like, I don't want that to be my game too. You know what I mean? The one Gen 1 warship that really, really grinds my gears is the Cantonian Gym in Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun and Moon, where you go to Malie City and there's a gym that was built. It's called a Cantonian Gym, and you go inside there, and it's like, oh, in Kanto they have gyms like this. This is built off a Kanto gym. I'm like, okay, why is this a Kanto gym? Why is it not a gym that's like in Hoenn? It's the same exact thing. Oh, and normally, in the newer gens, that when a trainer battles you from a distance, when you get their eyesight, they don't walk to you anymore. They used to walk towards you.
Yeah.
In the Cantonian gym, they walk to you. Oh, in Kanto, we walk to you like this. You do it everywhere. It's like, this is so blatantly like Gen 1 worshipping. It hurts. It hurts to look at it. I think it could have been cool. A cool concept, right? A gym in the Alola region. You can really do that, but I just I didn't really care for how they handled that. Alolan forms again, only Gen 1 Pokemon. Don't know why they went like that, but
Poorly delivered fan service.
yeah, poorly delivered fan service. Now, positively delivered fan service is like Rainbow Rocket. That was incredible. I don't know if you've played through the post game of Ultra Sun and Moon, but that is this. Oh my gosh, man, that is so. I heard all the rumors before the game came out. I said, "There's no way they're gonna do it right." They did it right, man. That was one of the coolest post games ever with Team Rainbow Rocket. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'd recommend you go do it though if you have.
I do. I have the game kicking around. I should probably pick it back
highly
up.
recommend it, man. Highly recommend.
What I like to do is when the next Pokemon game is about to come out, I go through like the previous like 2-3 gens.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And, like I just play everything like start to finish. Like,
Okay.
I try and complete it because I've never been like a completist before. It never really bothered me to get the entire Pokedex, but like I would restart with like a different starter or like try a different party.
Right.
But like just like me getting like really back into Pokemon and having more free time. And not to mention, like, I now enjoy the Switch so much more than, like, the DS. And I love the DS. But, like, for me, the Switch and, like, playing games on the Switch feels like what the Game Boy Color, like, my Game Boy Pocket, my Game Boy Advance felt like. So, except, like, obviously, like, more, refined.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Switch, 10-year-old me would have just been in heaven. I would have never put it down.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't really play the Switch in handheld mode, but when I was 10, I was in the car all the time. I was moving all the time. I did like 20 flights a year when I was 10 from other sides of the country. I always had my Game Boy in my pocket, always. I still do. I bring my 3DS to work all the time, just in case. Just in case I have a traffic jam and I get in a car accident and I have to wait 3 hours or whatever. It's always there for me.
Yeah.
I think the Switch would have been great for me when I was younger, man. But now it's just. I pretty much play docked all the time. I'll occasionally move it handheld, but the Joy-Cons make it difficult to do that, So.
So it seems like Pokemon has had an incredible effect on you. Like from the time you were young up until now, it means so much to you. And just hearing you speak and how vibrant you are when you talk about your experiences and how you try to make the most of your playthroughs, it's so... To me, it's touching. It's touching to hear that there are other people who are just as much or even more into this thing that I love. And it's amazing to hear that, 25 years on, that Pokemon is stronger than ever and that it's having such a great impact on people's lives.
Yep.
Do you, what do you think Pokemon is going to look like throughout the 20s? What would you like to see? What do you think is maybe something that's going to remain in the past and we won't see again, and what do you look forward to the most on the next release?
Okay, so with what I expect, I think Pokemon is currently doing their own thing, and I'm not gonna bash Game Freak. Okay, they did a fantastic job with their franchise from start to finish, or start to present, I guess. But they obviously make mistakes. But like I said, I think they do hear us. It just takes them a little bit of time. I'm not going to say that Gen 9 is going to be the same thing as Sword and Shield was. I'm not a fan of Sword and Shield. There are aspects I like of the game. I still play it every single day because I'm a fanboy, but I think they will work on their difficulty a little bit. I think they will work on their ugly graphics that everybody's complaining about with the trees and all those kind of things. I think they'll work on those minute details. But Pokemon itself, man, is just it's hard. It's really, really hard to mess up. You know, it's just you just do the same thing. It's gonna work every time. I think a lot of people complain about the formula is the same, and honestly, that's why I love it. I love the going through the 8 badges and battling the team. Again, don't get me wrong, I love the side games too because they are different. But in the mainline games, I want 8 badges. When I heard Alola didn't have 8 badges, I was kind of like set back. I was like, you know, this is weird. Maybe for a side game, yeah, totally, dude. Like, yeah, throw me on these 4 islands, throw me through these trials, yeah, totally. But I want my gym leaders, and I want, you know, it to be. I love the formula. It's as simple as that, and I think that's why it works so well. That's why Pokemon just keeps living on, because this generation is new to somebody every time. I think the big waves of Pokemon, it's just incredible how many people it's just they refresh and they grab a whole new group of audience, you know. I mean, I remember when I was Gen 1, that was a big wave. Gen 2 kind of dissipated a little bit. Gen 3, big wave again. A lot of new people playing Gen 3. Gen 4, gigantic wave. That's when a lot of people started in Gen 4. Gen 5, a little bit lower, dissipated a little bit. Gen 6, gigantic wave again. You know what I mean? It's just like every 5 or 6 years, you just get this whole new people. These people that were 3 or 4 years old when the previous generations came out are now 7, 8, 9, and 10. They're going to want to play these games now. And I think that's just the formula works so well. It's so simple, but so able to be explored that it's just going to keep going. You know, I mean, you can make the games as easy as you want or as hard as you want, but the formula is going to work every time, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Techno, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on. I kept you longer than I thought I would. But it was so great to hear your perspective and your approach to Pokemon.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm sorry to take up an hour of your time, but to be honest with you, man, if I could keep you going till 11 a.m., you know? I could keep you going for another 12 hours if you really wanted to. But no, man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I rambled at times. I just get a little lost in my own words, you know?
Not at all. It was gospel hearing it from you, man. Honestly, I'm such a huge fan of Pokemon, and like I said before, it's great to just talk to somebody who had a very similar experience to me. Because as corny as this sounds, it's like, imagine you were on a Pokemon journey and you encountered another trainer, and then you meet up with them 10, 15 years later.
I love it.
Yeah, awesome. This is it's just catching up. You know?
I love it. Yeah, it's great, man. It's we all have the same experience. And we didn't even know it, you know what I mean? It's just all there. We all have it, and it's just, you just got to talk about it sometimes. It's just like, wow, we have the same views, man. This is like a lot to bond here, and that's the theme of Pokemon too, is the bond there. I mean, there's bond between friends in the anime, they kind of do that, but the bond between human and Pokemon as well is just, I think that message is a little undertoned. I love that. It's not super in your face. They say it all the time, you know, the bond between your Pokemon, but it's never like a super defining factor. I think the bond is the main theme of the series, and that's what it does in the real world, man. It bonds everybody. It's especially in the most recent years. I think with Go and Sword and Shield, it's just been a huge bonding experience for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug?
No, dude. I just want to say thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. If you need me for anything in the future, just give me a shout, okay?
We'll stay in touch for
Awesome,
sure.
Man.
I'm gonna have a lot of talks with other people about Pokemon, but I definitely want to talk to you again about it some more.
Sure, man. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Everyone, that was my talk with Techno. I hope you really enjoyed it. I know I did. And I think I'll be seeing you guys around soon with some more talks about Pokemon. Take care and have a great night.